All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're diving deep into the strategy behind studying smarter, not harder. We're going to unpack 10 solid tips that can totally transform how you approach your learning and your work. Okay, let's be honest for a second. Have you ever just stared at a pile of books and felt completely stuck? You know that feeling where you read the same page 3 times, but absolutely nothing is sinking in. If that sounds even a little bit familiar, you are in the right place. So, we're going to tackle this in 3 parts. First up, laying the foundation. Because look, you can't build a skyscraper of knowledge on shaky ground, right? You need a rock-solid base to start from. So, where do we even start? What's the very first step? Tip number 1 is actually way simpler than you might think. Ask early, ask often. Now, this idea is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. The key is not to wait until you are completely drowning in confusion. The moment you feel unsure about something, that is your signal to get help. One small clarifying question today will absolutely prevent a massive headache tomorrow. And building on that same proactive mindset is our second tip: plan proactively. The big idea here is to stop being a firefighter, constantly running around putting out last-minute deadline fires. Instead, you've got to start thinking like an architect. You build a solid roadmap for your work. This little shift in thinking puts you in control, not the clock. And what's the third pillar holding up our foundation? It is all about respecting those deadlines. Here's a simple 3-step way to do it. First, just identify all of them. Get them out of your head and onto a list. Second, put them into a calendar where you can see them. And third, this is the secret sauce, work backward from each deadline. Set little mini goals along the way. All of a sudden, that huge, scary project just becomes a series of small, totally doable steps. Okay, so our foundation is officially laid. Now we can move on to part 2, executing with focus. This is where we get into the nuts and bolts, the real nitty-gritty of studying effectively. And to kick this section off, let's talk about tip number 4. Blend your resources. Think about it. If you were a detective, you wouldn't rely on just one clue, would you? The same thing goes for studying. You got to combine what you hear in lectures, what you read in books, and yet even use AI tools to help fill in the gaps. The more angles you can get on a topic, the deeper your understanding is going to be. Next up, we've got a really crucial one. Tip number 5 is to own your routine. And notice I'm emphasizing your. This isn't about copying someone else's perfect schedule. Are you a morning person or a night owl? Build a consistent routine that fits your natural rhythm. Believe me, the best plan in the world is the one you can actually stick to. Okay, so you're in the zone, you're getting things done. What's next? Tip number 8 is all about limiting distractions. Let's be real, your phone is probably the biggest enemy here. So try putting it in another room, close all those extra tabs on your computer. When you create a space for deep focus, you'll be stunned by what you can accomplish when you just silence all that noise. Now, once you've done all that focus work, how do you make sure it actually sticks? That brings us to tip number 9, review actively. This is the difference between just looking at your notes and truly learning. Passively rereading is okay. But trying to explain a concept to a friend or quizzing yourself with flashcards, that's active recall. It forces your brain to retrieve the information, and that's how you build those strong, lasting memories. So, you've laid the foundation, and you're executing with focus. How do you keep it all going for the long haul? That brings us to our final act, sustaining your momentum. Look, your routine isn't set in stone. That's why tip 6 is to reflect and reset. Every week or so, just take 10 minutes. Ask yourself what's working, what's not. You've got to be an active participant in your own process and be willing to tweak the plan as you go. And this leads to what might be my personal favorite, tip number 7, progress over perfection. So many of us get stuck trying to create the perfect study system right out of the gate. Forget perfect. The goal is simply to start. One small step forward is always, always better than standing still waiting for the perfect moment. And finally, tip 10, the real secret to keeping your motivation tank full: celebrate your milestones. Finished a tough chapter? Nailed a practice quiz? Reward yourself. This isn't just about feeling good, it's actual neuroscience. It creates a positive feedback loop in your brain, training it to connect hard work with a positive feeling. So, as Dr. Mahmoud Maram says, together we can make it happen.
I want you to think of these tips not as a list of rigid rules, but more like a toolkit. They're here to empower you so you can pick and choose what you need for your own personal learning journey.
Which brings us to our final question for you. Don't think about trying to overhaul your entire life tomorrow. Just focus on today. What is the one small step from all this that you're going to put into practice right now? Because that right there, that's where all the real change begins.